I've been working as a music composer in advertising for almost 20 years, and I've worked on Super Bowl commercials and TikToks and everything in between, movies. I've worked on projects for Nike, Apple, my band Scavenger Hunt, who's Jill Lamoureux and I. She's an amazing vocalist and songwriter. We went on tour with a band called Capital Cities about 5 or 6 years ago, and we got to play with some really big pop stars, and we got a really, really interesting journey through touring and bands and licensing our music in, most recently, the new Gossip Girl on HBO. I didn't go to music school, or I've never had any formal training. It happened very slowly and organically. Got a guitar, took a few guitar lessons, bought a cheap drum kit, then got into the turntables, and just stumbled into music. I've always loved music, always loved musical theater, and I think that really ignited me wanting to make music and pursue music. And I never knew exactly where I was going to end up with music. I thought maybe I was going to be an audio engineer or a record producer only. And then I stumbled into writing music for picture, and it's like I found it. There's so much out there right now. Like, to be a composer, an artist, a musician, you have to have your stuff together, because you only have that much time to present and pitch to someone. So if you have everything really clean and well titled and organized, the odds of you landing that placement or that position or that job are going to be a lot higher than if you just throw 50 tracks into a random folder. I don't think of myself as a dinosaur or an old man in our industry, but I started out sending out DVDs and using iTunes for my music, which, like, no disrespect to iTunes, total disrespect to DVDs, because that's a dead technology now. There was never really a great way, I felt, to easily catalog my music and send it at the same time. You know, all the different platforms, none of them have been, I think, great. They've been, like, good enough, and you've had to use a couple different things. And I think I first came along disco through music supervisors saying, hey, can you please upload on this link? And I remember thinking, like, oh, wow, somebody finally kind of cracked the code on this. I'll be diplomatic here and say I think some of, like, the mass data sites that composers and supervisors kind of used to make it work were fine, but it never looked good. You always had to, it didn't look like a presentation. You were sending a link, and it wasn't organized. It just, and there was no way to really see, as far as I knew, who was listening. I mean, that's such a big thing. To me, that's a quarter of my passion for the platform, is how easy it is to know if something's been listened to. And even for me, it's sometimes crazy how many times people listen to one piece of music. I mean, I'm talking about like 99 times, because so many people have to approve it. It's a great way to even know that a project's still alive. I mean, that's kind of crazy that, like, just a link and a platform for storage, really, can also allow me to know if a project's dead or alive. So that's really cool. I mean, I'd say I check my disco like I check my bank account, like I check, what's in my Amazon cart. It's like a NASDAQ for me for current projects that are going on. I work for myself. I always have. And to be wearing the two hats of the creative, doing my own networking and sales, and to be able to have that piece of information of, that's the track that people seem to be the most drawn to, or that finds to be the most synced. It's kind of, you'd think it would be obvious, but it's not. I have over 1,000 tracks in disco, so it's hard. it's kind of hard for me to keep up sometimes. Like, you know, with what tracks are doing great, and you know what songs aren't being listened to as much. It's a concrete way of knowing that like you're onto something. And I think it's probably no different than if you're an artist in your Etsy store and that Hummingbird print, people are just going crazy for it. So it's like, you probably want to keep making those Hummingbird prints. But there are some features that I probably don't use, and there are things that I really do use, which I think are super helpful. Like the other day, I used the AI instrumental or instant instrumental for the first time, and it was so great because in the past, okay, let me get right back to you, and then you have to open the session's not compatible, or something's not loading right. Anyway, so that to me is awesome. I can't tell you how many times people will say, hey, we're looking for something that feels like this. It's just to be able to paste a reference track into my own disco and find tracks that are similar. That's crazy. If I'm out away from my studio and I get a brief, I can literally go on my phone and submit while I'm at the car wash or you know, doctor's waiting room or whatever it is. That's pretty cool, I think. And a lot of times it's, hey, we need this in the next hour, or we need this in the next 3 hours. So being able to have my entire catalog at my fingertips, that saves me so much time. In the past, I would have had to write a couple emails, let them know I was going to submit, come back home, listen through stuff, create a playlist. It wouldn't have some cool, sleek background, and I wouldn't have had any insight into if it ever even got listened to. I've had a music executive at a major studio. I totally was like, yeah, we listened to your stuff. It's great. Now we have a sense of what you sound like. They didn't listen. That's pretty valuable. I think we're good there, but I'm not going to follow up. But that was pretty cool that I was able to just kind of know that, and it allowed me to have a little more recon in the scenario. I'd say before disco, I was sending off playlists with 5 to 10 great tracks I'm talking about like spot on, not just like, hey, here's some stuff, maybe it'll work, but stuff that really hit all the brief bullets. And now with disco, I'm sending out playlists with closer to 20 to 40 tracks, again, that are not just, hey, here's every hip hop thing I have, but hey, here's all the things that meet the brief. And that's crazy because it's such a numbers game for music supervisors, for brands. There are a lot of people that have to approve of this stuff. So to be able to give as many options as possible while saving time through disco, this is a quote, and you can quote me on this. I would say my income as a music composer has gone up 40 to 50% since I started using disco.